welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show us on how to make a simple A-line short dress with a fashionable long sleeve that is going to have a rope at the wrist. Please stick around with me as we move to the work table. I'll be making use of this African print, and I have 2.5 yards of fabric. I will be drafting the front and the back bodies together. I won't be adding a zipper to the back bodies. I just want it to be a free A-line dress. So I'm going to be folding my fabric into two first. Then I'll fold it again into two, making 4. It is already folded into 4, just like this. Then I'll place it on my table. The first thing I'm going to do is to draw out my starting line. So I'm measuring 1 inch. 1 inch away from the edge. And I'll draw a straight line. My shoulder measurement is 17, divided by 2 is 8.5. I'll be adding sleeve to this dress, so I'm going to add half an inch to my shoulder measurement. So I'm going to be measuring 9 inches for my shoulder measurements. I'm not adding zipper to the dress, so I'll be using neck width of 4.5. Neck depth for the front, I'll be using 5 inches. I'll be using 1 inch for the back. Then I'll curve the neckline. This is for the back. Then this is for the front. At the shoulder measurement, I'll be measuring 1 inch downward for my shoulder slope. From the 1 inch, I'm going to be connecting it to the neck width. My armhole depth is 9 inches. From the 1 inch, I'll measure down 9 inches. The measurement that I have here, 9 inches, I'm also going to measure it here, 9 inches, to help me determine a straight line. At this point, I'm going to measure my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 45. Divided by 4 will give me 11 and quarter. Because it's a free dress and I'm using African print which is not stretchy, I'm going to add 1 inch ease to my bust measurement. Then it will now give me 12 and quarter. This is 12 and quarter. The length of my dress is 40 inches. I'm using the length of 40 inches. I'll move forward a little and also measure 40 inches. Then I'll connect to a straight line. My hip measurement is 52. 52 divided by 4 is 13 inches. 13 inches plus 5 is 18 inches. So I'm going to measure 18 inches at the end. This is the 18 inches. Then what I'm going to do for the curving of the shape of the A-line dress, I'm going to place my ruler like this. From the bust, I'll draw a straight line to meet where the 18 inches measurement is. I'll measure 1.5 inches upward for my side curve. Then I'll measure about 3 inches. Then with my armhole curve, I'm going to give it a nice curve. Let's move to the armhole. For my armhole, I'm going to measure the length and find the midpoint. I have 9 inches here. The midpoint is 4.5. For the front armhole, I'm going to go in by 3/4. Then with my armhole curve, I'm going to curve the shape. For the back armhole, I'm going to curve from here to the bust. Before I cut out, I'm going to add seam allowance. I'm going to add half an inch at the shoulder to join the front and the back bodies together. The side seam, I'm going to add 1 inch seam allowance throughout. At the end, I'm also going to add 1 inch seam allowance following the curve. Then at this side, I'll just simply follow the curve. This is our measurements. Then this is the side seam to join the front and the back together at the side. Then at the hem, this is my folding in allowance. I'm going to be cutting out the back bodice first. I'm cutting out the back armhole first and the back neckline. Cutting the back neckline. The seam at the shoulder. I'm cutting the back armhole first. This is how it look like. Then I'm going to remove the back bodice. While I cut the front armhole and the front neckline. and the front armhole. I'll be cutting facing for the back and the front. What you need to do is to get pieces of fabric, fold it into two, take your back bodies, fold it, make sure that the folded edge of the bodies and the folded edge of the fabric for the facing align together. Cut it out. Follow the neckline shape to cut it out. Remove the back bodies, then for the length of the facing, 3.5 inches. Three and a half inches. This is the facing for the back bodice. As you can see, it's aligned very well. So next is to cut facing for the front bodice. Folded edge of the fabric for facing, let it align together. Then trace the neckline. Remove the fronts, then measure 3.5 inches. The same with the back. As you can see, the facing align with the front properly. I'm going to attach stay to the two facing for the front and for the back to give it weight. Next is to cut out our sleeve. This yellow fabric to beautify the sleeve at the wrist. I'll be using it to create a band and a rope that I can tie. The length that I have is 35 inches by 3.5 inches wide. I'm going to put this aside and I'm going to draft my cap height for an adult is between 4 to 4.5 inches. I'll be using 4.5 inches for the cap height. Then I'll draw a straight line. My armhole depth is 9 inches. I'm going to add extra 1.5 inches to my armhole depth. That will now give me 10.5 inches. I'm going to draw a straight line from this to the edge. Measure the length. I have 11.5 inches here. Then I'll find the midpoint. At the midpoint, I'm going to measure 1/2 inch upward. I'm covering the back armhole first. From this point, I'm going to draw a straight line to meet the 1/2 inch. I'll measure 1 inch away from the edge. With my armhole curve, I'm going to place the curve from the midpoint to meet the 1 inch. This is for the back armhole. Then for the front armhole, I'm going to place the armhole curve from the midpoint to meet the 1 inch. Flip it and I'll place the curve from this point to meet the midpoint. This is for the front armhole, while this is for the back armhole. Next, I'm going to do the length of my sleeve is going to be 22 inches. Length of my sleeve, 22 inches. I'll draw a straight line. I'm going to draw a straight line from this point to the wrist. Next is to add my 1 inch seam allowance. 1 inch. At the end, I'm adding 1/2 inch to join with the band. Then I'll cut it out. I'm cutting the back armhole first. I'll open it. And cut the front armhole. This is for the back armhole. This is for the front armhole. I'm going to notch the edge. I'm going to pleat this side. I'll gather or pleat this end to fit in the band. It's going to look like this and it will be very beautiful. Let's move to sewing of the dress.